Hi, everybody, and welcome to Unique Peace. I am Janice. I'm your host. I am a Reiki Master Teacher and Psychic Medium here on Long Island. And today I am being joined by Kenneth Schmidt. He is the author of 5 volumes of Quantum Energetics, and he's going to be talking about the necessary needs for these books as well as what brings him peace as he guides us through spirituality. And join me in welcoming Kenneth to this with us. Hi, Kenneth.
Hi, Janice.
How
Thank
are you
you.
today?
Great. Thank you
Great.
very much for having me on.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited. You've written 5 volumes of quantum energetics and spiritual.
Yeah, quantum energetics and spirituality aligning with universal consciousness.
And what has brought about? Can you talk us through the story of how these volumes came? A little bit of your background and how this, is obviously your background led to the writing of these volumes.
Right. Um, Basically, I was meditating one day and I just felt a message from within that I needed to write what I know from my inner knowing. And so I sat down at my computer and started writing. And after a few months, I decided to start posting things that I was writing on some of the social media. And on Facebook, one of the women who had been reading what I've been posting said, "You need to publish these things. Um, this is just too insightful and wonderful." So that's what I did. I published my first volume. And then I kept getting more and more information to keep writing. And so I published another one.
And it
So
just keeps coming.
yeah, now I'm working on number 6.
Amazing, amazing. And so you've written these 5 volumes. So let's go back just a little bit to what has led you to become the spiritual being that you are and guide people. You have mentioned in childhood that you kind of had nudgings and intuitions. And how has that shaped these books when you meditate and when you write?
Well, as a very young child, the first thing I remember is that I had a very deep understanding of life. And I felt that I was on the wrong planet. Um, there was just too much violence and lack of understanding of what life is about on the part of all the adults around me. Even though I didn't know the language yet, but I just intuited this, and it's never. My understanding has always stayed with me, and so I don't know exactly what to say about it, except that
Okay.
it seems as if I have an understanding of life that can be helpful for everybody to learn about and delve into it themselves.
So we all have that inner knowing. It's just a matter of how is it transpiring in our lives.
Right, right. It's all it. We talk about part of it as conscience. Conscience is inner knowing, but conscience is only part of our inner knowing, and there's so much more. And we all have it. It's just a matter of paying attention to it. And as we pay attention, it becomes clearer and it grows and expands. And finally, it becomes greater than anything else that we know.
Yes, absolutely. And as you expand that consciousness, you kind of you grow your understanding of the world around you, but you also grow your understanding for peace.
Hmm.
And so, how do you personally define peace?
Mm. Well, I would say it's part of just accepting everything that happens to you and around you and within you. It's a matter of recognizing who we actually are because we have come to experience life as we do in order to be able to experience fear. Because in our essence, we can't do it. We would never take it seriously because we actually are fractals of infinite consciousness. And that means that we have all the abilities of the consciousness that we are part of, that creates us constantly. And um, and so we are infinitely creative, and we don't recognize that because in our human person we have intentionally accepted limiting beliefs about ourselves, so that we have created this sort of um, compartment of consciousness that we live within. And in order to basically expand universal consciousness, because the consciousness that creates us doesn't have any fear. It has only acceptance and love. And so once we can deal with these limitations and recognize that our consciousness never terminates. We are eternal and infinite awareness. And um, once we can recognize that, or even begin to recognize it, then uh, we are unlimited. And in that process, we recognize that we have gone through these experiences of fear and we have accepted them and we have developed much deeper love and compassion than we were capable of before we knew about these experiences. And so, um, as a result, once we learn to transcend, well, first of all, we have to resolve all of our limiting beliefs. And then, even before we do that, we have to recognize that we have them. And, and we have them because we have agreed to be here for these experiences. And so, um, as we begin to expand our awareness, then we're able to let go of our limitations and transcend them and become basically masters of the life experiences that we have here.
And how do you think that has brought you to a state of peace?
Well, peace is when everyone gets along and loves each other because we recognize that we're all the same being. We all share the same consciousness. This is something that quantum physicists discovered, and it's something that has come down from ancient times in esoteric spiritual knowledge as well. And in quantum physics, how it was discovered was doing experiments with subatomic entities. They can be either particles or waves, um, but not both at the same time. And normally, they are just electromagnetic waves. And as we are able to recognize them with our technology and very sensitive instrumentation, then they become aware that we're recognizing them and they turn into particles. And it's very interesting. I mean, because as a result of these experiments, physicists have concluded that the whole empirical world is not solid at all. It's just um, held in our consciousness as a form of interpretation of these energies. And we're the ones, as we interact with them, that actually create the impressions of uh, the sensory world. And so, in doing this, we have found that all of these entities that are minuscule actually have consciousness, and they can be in more than one place at the same time. They are aware of where they're going, and because they're constantly moving, and they're aware of every possible pathway that allows them to pass through to where they're going, and and they appear to be aware of all other entities in their class, their family, throughout the cosmos. And so it appears that they have universal consciousness, but their consciousness is also limited to their particular species, if you could call it that. Like photons recognize other photons. And so we have a species consciousness too. We are sharing the consciousness of humanity. And our situation, though, is different from any other being that we know of in this cosmos, in the sense that we have the capability of being infinitely creative. And so we can modulate the energies that we're aware of and create things. And so we can actually transcend human consciousness. So, getting back to your question about peace, sorry for the expansion of the whole idea there, but it is because we once we can recognize that we are part of a whole, that our consciousness is not limited to us individually, but we share the same thing and much more. And um, and so when we recognize our true essence of who we are, then there's no reason to be in any way negative towards another person or towards ourselves. There is only love, there's only joy, there's compassion, um, all of the wonderful things in life that we share. That's all coming from our essence, and that's part of universal consciousness. And
Yes.
so we just shed all of the negative things that keep us from getting along and loving each other.
And how do you find peace? What are some of the things that you do to find peace? Meditation may be part of your peaceful practice, but what else do you do?
By just recognizing who I am and who everyone else is. We are, in our essence, non localized. We're not limited to the consciousness that we have in our body. I mean, I first learned this as a result of an out of body experience when I died as a result of an automobile crash. And I was out of my body for about half an hour. My body was essentially dead. And I went into a complete expansion of consciousness and um, a wonderful knowing of um, unconditional love and joy. It was just such an amazing state of being that I had no desire to go back to my body. But my son, who was a month old at the time, wouldn't let me go. Psychically, he was pulling me back, and so I had to go back to my body. And when I came into my body, I didn't know who I was, but I remembered my experience out of it. And um, and a miracle happened in my body, which had been impossible to live in. Um, Suddenly became almost uninjured, and as I just came back into my body, I heard a paramedic who had apparently been giving me CPR get up and say to his colleagues, "He's gone. There's nothing more we can do." And then I opened my eyes.
Wow. That that must have been amazing for everybody involved, obviously for
Yeah,
you, but
yeah.
wow.
But then I had amnesia for a while. I didn't know who I was. I felt as if I'd just been incarnated into somebody else's body.
Oh, wow.
But as a result of that, it totally changed my whole perspective about life, and the idea of dying sometime just disappeared because um, I knew that that's not what happens to us.
Right. And
And
experiencing that expansion and all that joy and love has probably had a profound effect on the volumes that you write as well, yes?
right, right. Well, that wasn't the only time that happened to me, but
Oh, wow.
every time I have gone off in the wrong direction for my personal destiny, I run up against some kind of wall, it seems. And so I've now had three death experiences.
Oh my goodness. Oh
Some
my.
people are just hardcore. And
It's like that scene in The Godfather. Every time I try and get out, they keep pulling me back in.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this has been a very interesting life.
Yes,
Um,
it sounds like it. Oh my
you know,
goodness.
yeah, I'm 81 now. And yeah, I have no desire to compete with anyone or do anything that is in any way hurtful or destructive or you know
Yeah.
anything that would be negative.
And in that same line, how do you help others find peace? You've had some quite remarkable experiences, it sounds like, and you've written 5 volumes on quantum physics, quantum energies, and spirituality. How has this helped you help others find peace or explain peace?
Well, I mean, peace hasn't been um, one of the concepts that I actually am especially concerned about, but it certainly is part of my entire perspective. And yeah, I could not be living the way I do without peace. Um, and you know, my perspective really is finding, becoming aware of, and following our inner knowing, because that's where we all know that we are at peace, and um, and it comes out in every aspect of our life. Um, we're able to love everyone and accept everything, because what happens energetically is that we live in a certain dimension that has limitations. Um, um, that happen as a result of our own consciousness. And we keep changing dimensions all the time as we open our awareness or close it, and as we change our perspective. And so by creating our own energy signature by the way we are, we attract experiences and we repel experiences. And um, and by being the way we are, we don't experience the kinds of things that would be negative if we are in a positive state of being. And um, so when we're at peace, then um, we can't really be attacked because the energetics don't mesh. Um, we have polarities, positive and negative, electromagnetically, and we experience the energies that are attractive to us, and we don't experience the energies that are repugnant or repelling to us. And um, so by being at peace, we actually are affecting not only our own being, but we're affecting human consciousness generally. And it means that we're able to get along perfectly well with ourselves and with everyone else. Now, this isn't always possible for everyone because we have deep traumas and experiences that we've had as a result of um, our own lifetimes and how we've been treated and so on. Because when we come here, we don't know who we are. We don't know our essence. We that has been wiped clean from our awareness, and so we need to go through life experiences and have experiences that we intended to have here, um, and become aware of the guidance that we need in order to successfully deal with the human situation and be able to transcend all of our limitations.
And I'm sure you discuss a lot of this in your volumes, correct?
Right. I mean, I look at how we can know about life from so many different perspectives, and I keep learning things as I go along too. Um, to the point where it's clear to me now that we need to just let go of our beliefs in illness and um, becoming old and decrepit and dying. I mean, that's not part of our life. Those are artificial beliefs that we've taken on. And there's no reason that we can't regenerate our bodies and return our physical presence to um, our most uh, enhanced state of being, like, maybe where we were in our 20s or 30s, and remain in that condition full of vitality and well-being.
And that is a lot of, as a Reiki master, that's a lot of kind of like what we tap into. We tap into the energy and understanding that this is all energy, and we do have the ability to heal our own bodies. Um, but with Reiki, it does kind of work in conjunction with modern medicine. But there is a lot of the mind overcoming the matter.
Well, everything originates with consciousness. Consciousness expresses itself as energy. Energy has potential to create things, to become forms. Um, and so our consciousness actually creates our bodies. And all of the things that we use to help us feel better are creations of our consciousness. But we have developed into beings who have only partial awareness of our full consciousness. I mean, we have our conscious minds, our subconscious minds, and much more than that. But we're mostly unaware of our subconscious, and the subconscious really has more power to control the state of our bodies than our conscious mind does. And so it it helps us to be able to train or retrain our subconscious according to what we know it should be, and not just as a result of past experiences. And so we use things like meditation and neuro linguistic programming and um, past life regression analyses and so forth, um, along with um, invocations and things, and all of that. I mean, things like material assets too, like medicine and so forth, can all be helpful because those leave impressions on our subconscious.
Yes. Yes. And in your experience, how can we tap into the peaceful consciousness?
Hmm. Yeah, we have to learn to just be. And, it's helpful to listen to inspiring music, to go for walks in nature and just be present, listen to the birds and the other creatures, and feel the wind and the breeze, and learn to communicate with the clouds and the angels of the air. And um, nature can be very helpful, especially places that are majestic and inspiring. Um, and we need to learn to be aware of the spirit of the earth, because this planet is not just material. This is a living being that we are uh, living on, and she unconditionally loves us and supports us regardless of what we do to her. Just like our hearts live to enhance our life, and they unconditionally love us. Yeah, they live us, regardless of what we do to them. All of our organs are like that, and they actually all have their own consciousness too. Just like every photon and electron and proton in our bodies, everything is conscious, and they all work together to basically in sync with our energy signature, which we're in charge of and which we create, and and we do it unintentionally, but we can do it intentionally.
Yes. Yes. And what are some of the ways we can bring peace into our lives? I think you just answered that question actually. So, um, what are some of the ways you quickly, like if you get frazzled? I mean, it doesn't sound like it happens very often now, but like back, like say when you were experiencing climbing that mountain, as we say, and roadblock and twists and turns, what are some of the ways that you found peace back then, that we can kind of use now?
Well, I think um, the easiest thing is just when you if you feel um, anxious and uncentered, to stop what you're doing, take a few deep breaths, gather your sense of yourself, and and then just be calm and quiet and look within. Feel for your inner knowing, and because when you really are in touch with your heart consciousness, there is no anxiety, um, and you become peaceful and ultimately enlightened. Um, and that's really what we all need to learn. And if we can follow our inner knowing in every moment, we don't have to necessarily focus on it, but it's there in our awareness. Um, then we actually have everything that we need to be successful in every moment. Um, because there's nothing that we don't know.
Beautiful. And what advice would you give us in not just tapping into our conscious, but to kind of like be aware and live the conscious?
Just practice um, inner awareness. I mean, a lot of people don't really pay much attention to their conscience, but um, but if you do and you're intentionally aware of just that part of you, the more you practice that awareness, the um, the greater your knowing of how to be and what to think, how to feel. It all begins to come together and express itself as your true being. And um, and your true being is beautiful and loving and kind and compassionate and all knowing. And we just have to be open to that and want it. If we don't desire it, we'll never have it.
Mm, that is
But if
very
we
true.
do, but if we do desire it, then it automatically starts coming to us.
That's like the law of attraction, very
Hmm.
much like what people would call the law of attraction. And
Yeah, there's much more to it because the quantum field has all potentialities, and we choose which ones we recognize, and by recognizing them, we make them real in our experience. And it's just that simple.
wonderful. And as we're kind of like coming to a close here, what has been on your journey the most memorable event in your life that could teach everyone the most powerful thing about peace?
I think the easiest and most wonderful thing is deep meditation, because it helps you ultimately be in touch with your essence of who you are, um, and it helps you to achieve a deep sense of peace. And in the process, you feel really good. Um, you learn what deepest love actually is, and joy, and um, life enhancement. That's what we're all about.
Yes. Thank you, Kenneth, for joining us today. I am truly grateful and have gained some new insights in a lot of ways.
Hmm. Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. It's always great to talk with others about these things.
Yes, yes. Hold 1 second. I'll be right back. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this enlightening conversation about peace and consciousness and how to be more aware and peaceful while being very conscious of it. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you or with you next week.